Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing fine. I just want to go ahead and say thank you all for listening. And my name is Tudor, and I have taken the time in creating a PowerPoint presentation on a story that I currently completed in literacy, criticism, and analysis. Throughout the semester, we had a different variety of stories and poems, just analyzing literature and pretty much studying literature. And one of my favorite stories that I want to look over, and I actually took the time on creating a 7-page paper, was Updike's A&P. And in doing so, to further analyze the story, I have went ahead and created a PowerPoint. So this PowerPoint has a total of 6 slides. I want it to be direct and simple, so I didn't went into too much writing. I just quickly grab some information and throw it in there. I also added pictures just for visual purpose, and I think it would be a great idea for my listeners who would like a visual scene of what really I am talking about. Okay, so here we go. Let's look at slide 1. I have taken the liberty in providing my name, my college, and my course. And I also provide you information of who my professor is. I will not be reading directly off the slide, but for whom may need a bit more information, the slide can provide you with this information. Okay, let's look at slide 2. For many who may not have a clue as to what the story is about, I'm gonna just jump right in and give you just a brief summary of the story that I'll be talking about. So the name of the story is Updike's A&P. It is a short story that introduced the mid-century of America during the Cold War. It was written by John Updike in 1961. And just for enlightenment purpose, as we know, during the 1950s, women didn't have rights. Therefore, the story historical context, it portrayed the 1950s to the 1960s, and it showed the settings just kind of it has like a timeline wise where it show the building, such as the A&P is a supermarket, so it kind of show the settings of the supermarket, and it gives you an idea of the location the story was played in, which is a residential or suburban neighborhood. And it also show you, I also put a picture just for visual purpose. I want to kind of give you an idea of um the dress attire that they were using in the mid-century, and they were very strict on dress code. So let's move forward to slide 3. The roles each character play is very important, and I believe that they may all have their own views. Um, Throughout the story, only one character give their view, and that was the narrator. Narrator, his name is Sammy, and I'm gonna just quickly break down each character roles and what they did in the story, the purpose they serve, pretty much. So the main character, as I've mentioned earlier, his name is Sammy. He is a teenage boy who is a narrator, and he's also a checkout or clerk at the A&P supermarket. Then there is Queenie. She's also a teenager and is a customer at the A&P supermarket. Queenie is the may also consider one of the main character, because Queenie kind of influenced society and she influenced the people around her by only just breaking the rules of the dress code, as I have mentioned in slide 2. Um, the third person is Lengill. He is the manager at A&P, and Then there's Stucky. He's also a clerk, just like Sammy. And Queenie also has two friends. There wasn't any name presented into the story, but I'm gonna just give you a brief example of what the writer did. He kind of used body shape, height, weight, and he kind of described them by the kind of bathing suit that they were wearing. One was plaided and one was a yellow heavy color. I also went ahead and put some picture in there so you guys can have an idea of what I am speaking about. So my next slide is slide 4. There are a few things that kind of stand out in the story, but I will be looking at Queenie and her friends and their attire, meaning their dress code and what they wore. As we know, they wore bathing suit during a timeline where rules were enforced. Women weren't allowed to do certain things. Pretty much, women didn't had rights. I do believe that the writer was shining light on how society can be influenced by someone that believes in themselves, but it also shows that there is also rules and regulation to remind us that we can't be too freely, especially in the mid-century. Women, like I said, women didn't have those rights to do anything. And could you believe 3 teenagers during that time walking through a supermarket wearing a bathing suit? I think that kind of influenced a lot of people in different ways, such as body shape, weight, height, skin type. I do believe it had a very heavy influence on the people around her, around Queenie and her friends. But Queenie and her friends didn't care. They didn't care how people felt. They were very confident in what they were doing. Queenie herself was very confident, and like I said, they influenced people. And one of the main thing that the writer wanted us to know, I believe it kind of show youth rebellious in the timeline and the setting of the story. So that's two of the things that I wanted to touch base on. It kind of influenced society, and it kind of showed a rebellious timeline within the 1950s and 1960s. So I'll be moving on to slide 5. So slide 5 for me is like a transformation point. As I've stated earlier, by introducing who Sammy is and the role he plays, I'll just go right ahead and dig in. A part of influence and transformation for Sammy was always the one judging customer. But what transformed him was his encounter he had with Queenie. I do feel like Sammy has always wanted to be free, but couldn't find the right time. And once he see Queenie and how she persuade her friends, it kind of pushes him. So that was my idea and my analysis of how Sammy kind of transferred from who he was to who he is at the end of the story. My last slide is slide 6. And slide 6 shows authority and rules. As you can see in the picture, I kind of wanted to give you guys a quick glimpse of the 3 friends in their bathing suit, and then there's an authority figure in front of them that will be enlisting rules and want to control. Okay, so I'm gonna dig right in. So that authority figure is Langley. He didn't see the girls as influencer, but rather a group of young rebellious teenagers. He wanted to remind them that all society will stand for their changes, that all society will not stand for their changes. The writer reminds us that although we think our influence may impact many, society will always be the judge. During Len Gill and altercation with the girls, Sammy felt as though Lengel was being hypocrite, and he decided that his freedom was more important, so he quit his job. So that kind of conclude my analysis of the story Updike, A and P. Um, I do hope this kind of shine light on um what the story is about. Through my understanding, this is all I can grasp, and I just want to thank everyone for listening, and I do hope you guys have a safe weekend.